Honorable Ministers, Members of Government, of Parliament, distinguished guests, members of our St. Lucian community, ladies and gentlemen. This event today is not just about reporting on the remarkable work done by the JEF project, but is a critical opportunity to take stock and to sound the alarm about our vulnerabilities from climate change and from our own negligence of our corner of the earth. Our unique ecosystems and vibrant communities are under threat from several climate tipping points. That is, these are points beyond which our environment could be forever altered. St. Lucia, like all of our Caribbean neighbors and SIDS globally, faces profound threats that could reshape our islands, our livelihoods, and our legacy for future generations. The Global Environment Facility Small Grants Program, GEF-SGP, here in St. Lucia, has made remarkable strides in the face of these challenges, supporting community-driven projects in climate resilience, ecosystem preservation, and sustainable livelihoods. But the harsh reality is that some of these threats could reach irreversible tipping points if we don't act now. Increasingly, scientists are recognizing that the Earth is a delicate ecosystem in which everything is related to everything else. We are now aware that small things can lead to big consequences. The destruction of insects as tiny as bees, for example, can effectively result in the collapse of agriculture. No bees, no plant pollination, no fruit production. We are acutely aware of the big systems tipping points that carry deep consequences for the entire planet. A recent study co-authored by Conservation International Chief Scientist Johan Rockström, for example, focused on some major potential tipping points, and I quote these. 1. The rapid and irreversible melting of ice sheets in Greenland and Antarctica. 2. The transformation of the Amazon rainforest into a dry savanna. 3. The collapse of a critical system of Atlantic Ocean currents. Each of these three ecosystems plays a profound role in stabilizing Earth's climate, and its destruction could trigger catastrophic changes for the well-being of people and nature. End of quote. We are naturally alarmed at these global indicators, and we pontificate against them in the many international environmental conferences. But are we examining our own microenvironment, monitoring the indicators that alert us to our own critical tipping points? We are approaching several of these critical tipping points that once crossed will be impossible to reverse. And let me enumerate some of them. 1. Coral reef bleaching. Our coral reefs, which protect our coastlines and support biodiversity, are in peril. With sea temperatures rising, Caribbean reefs are bleaching at an alarming rate. In fact, 62.9% of the world's coral reefs are currently affected by bleaching, and the Caribbean faces some of the most severe impacts. Without intervention, this could lead to widespread coral death, undermining our fisheries, tourism, and coastal defenses. The second, rising sea levels and coastal erosion. Global warming has led to accelerated ice melt, contributing to a rise in sea levels that is eroding our coastlines and threatening homes, mangroves, and wetlands. From 2004 to 2019, the rate of sea level rise in the Caribbean accelerated 67% faster than the most recent estimates of global mean sea level rise provided by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. A 1.2 centigrade rise in global temperatures, already documented, brings us dangerously close to a 1.5 centigrade threshold, after which the impacts on small states like ours could become irreversible. Thirdly, increased intensity of hurricanes and extreme weather. We are witnessing more frequent and intense storms. It is estimated that the total damage of Elsa in the US alone was $1.2 billion US. Hurricane Beryl damages totaled $3.3 billion across the US, the Caribbean, and Mexico, with insured losses for the Caribbean approximately $510 million US. Each storm exacerbates soil erosion, it damages infrastructure, and it threatens human lives. Fourth is the declining biodiversity and ecosystem services. Across the Caribbean, species are becoming increasingly vulnerable to extinction, with wild vertebrate populations globally dropping by 73% in just 50 years. Every lost species reduces our ecosystem's resilience and our community's ability to rely on natural resources. The fifth is the pollution compromising our environment. Now, while we can easily point fingers at the global emitters for the havoc being wreaked on the planetary ecosystem, it is equally necessary that we take a long, hard look in the mirror of our violation of nature. Let us be clear that the responsibility for addressing pollution does not lie solely on the shoulders of government. It is an equal civic responsibility. We can't expect that government will pick up every piece of trash that we drop on the roadside. There is literally no hike that one can take on or off main road drives, even to the most remote locations in St. Lucia, on which one does not discover illicit garbage dumping, including discarded household appliances, some as big as fridges and stoves, plastic bottles and containers, fast food disposables, abandoned derelict vehicles on narrow roads posing a threat to traffic flow, or compromised water sources from ridge to reef with pollution of water sources. I would like to punctuate this with the following pictures that I have personally taken on my forays countrywide, and view those slides. What is the way forward? What are the collective strategies for resilience? With these tipping points in mind, we must act strategically and immediately. The work of the Jeff SGP in St. Lucia has already laid a foundation, and we must expand on it with a unified commitment to resilient, sustainable development. Here's how we can start. Firstly, by expanding marine and coastal protection initiatives. Let us protect and restore our coral reefs by expanding marine protected areas and establishing coral nurseries. By actively growing and transplanting young corals, we can rebuild reef systems that shield our coastlines and support marine biodiversity. Jeff's work in integrated ecosystem management, restoration of forests on the southeast coast of St. Lucia, and its work on coral reef rescue with community involvement is adequate testimony to what can be done. But as the global environment deteriorates further, we need to do more faster. Secondly, invest in green infrastructure to mitigate sea level rise. To combat coastal erosion, we must further invest in nature-based solutions. Reforestation efforts, especially with mangroves, act as natural wave buffers and carbon sinks. In 2022, Jeff funded projects that planted over 500 trees to restore habitats for pollinators. Imagine if we scale this across our coastlines to create a green barrier against rising seas. Thirdly, promote sustainable climate-resilient agriculture, because agriculture is vital to our communities, but it must be resilient to fluctuating rainfall, drought, and hurricanes. Jeff's support for agro-processing and climate-smart practices have already yielded significant outcomes, such as establishing rainwater harvesting and water-efficient farming systems, and providing a grant of $50,000 US to implement the Climate Smart Greenhouse project. By training farmers and scaling sustainable farming methods, we can secure our food supply and build a climate-resilient agriculture sector. Fourthly, embrace renewable energy to cut carbon emissions. Renewable energy is both a mitigation and a resilience strategy. The Jeff has already shown the way by solarizing the first honey bottling plant in St. Lucia, for example, reducing its energy cost by 90%. By expanding solar installations for homes, schools, community centers, we reduce our dependence on imported fuels and create local clean energy solutions that support community resilience. Fifthly, strengthen community capacity through education and innovation. Building resilience starts with people. Between 2012 and 2022, Jeff provided technical assistance to 127 projects in St. Lucia, with 992 individuals trained in a wide range of eco-climatic work. We must continue to invest in education and capacity building, equipping communities with the skills to adapt and innovate. For instance, Jeff has developed training modules for sustainable practices in apiculture, agro-processing, and ecosystem management. Let us ensure that every community member has the knowledge and the tools to contribute to resilience, fostering a culture of climate consciousness at every level. Sixthly, promote sustainable livelihoods to protect biodiversity and foster economic resilience. Jeff, SGP's support for ecotourism, agroforestry, and sustainable fishing provides a model for economic resilience. By promoting eco-friendly livelihoods that rely on yet protect our natural resources, we create economic stability that doesn't compromise our environment. With projects like the Fonsejac Agro-Tourism Park, we see the potential for green jobs that benefit both people and planet. A call to action. Let us seize the moment. We stand at a crossroads. If we take bold, united action, we can secure a resilient future for St. Lucia and the Caribbean. Every tree we plant, every coral we restore, every community we empower brings us closer to a sustainable future. Let us unite with urgency and commitment, recognizing that each small step contributes to a larger impact. Together, we can chart a path away from the tipping points and towards transformation. St. Lucia and the Caribbean depend on us. Let us answer the call for resilience for the present and for generations to come. Thank you.